I consider myself to be a photographer who no longer makes her own pictures. I seek out images that have had lives in the world before and distinct from me, and work to animate them as objects. Objects that can and have circulated, objects that have had the capacity to teach people about how to make, survive, build community, and so forth. As such, I've been unfixing photographs for a long time, which is to say, pulling them off the wall or out of the frame. I've taped and pinned found images directly to the wall, hung them from other objects, and impressed them into drying cement. This is my first time suspending them in mobiles, spinning and counterbalanced, two-sided in the air. My particular interest is in women's work, for its pleasures, its profound invisibilities, and for the way that it potentializes communal life and shared, often intergenerational information about making self and world. For this show, I sought out to make a series of works that were not quote-unquote about craft, but were craft. I spent hours every day in the studio before or after my kids went to sleep, cutting, arranging, pasting, performing actions that I often do with my kids, or that I did so often as a child with my own mother. In fact, the first artwork I made after giving birth was a mobile for my child, who was enthralled by it and soothed by it for many months that followed. I wanted to make sense of that charge and to animate it. So in the most recursive way, this work does animate itself, describe itself. The mobile designs are, for instance, derived from books about how to make mobiles that are then cut up and used as material in the work. It, in that sense, becomes an object that recognizes itself and collapses the space between quote-unquote material research and resolved object. Looking and learning and making and teaching, it all becomes cyclical. The material I find often guides the work, and as I went, it became clear to me that the found photographs I was encountering over and over were of white male hands, demonstratively teaching craft, processes that were often innovated and shared in so many cases by and between women, and in some cases between children of color, from indigenous backgrounds, and so forth. At first, I pushed these images to the side. They just were not convenient. They didn't advance my idea of what I thought the project was about. But ultimately, as I always do, as I always seek to do, I let the material guide me as I went, ultimately making work that centered whiteness, or rather centered the manner in which whiteness centers itself. In this way, I hope to trouble whiteness, to trouble its otherwise default authority status. And I hope to remind us and remind myself that photographs have a unique power to reinforce and to inculcate such paternalistic narratives. And I hope to position intergenerational exchange and cultural and creative inheritance as a really meaningful counterpoint.